Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's a 2026 Chevy Silverado. But more specifically, it's an RST, or the Rally Sport Truck trim level, and it's in one of my favorite colors for the 2026 model year, named Riptide Blue Metallic, which looks really nice in person. There's a lot of metallic flake, and it kind of looks like a deeper version of Glacier Blue offered a few years ago. But while this is one of the coolest and best full-size pickup trucks you can buy, it's not perfect. So today I'm going to share the good, the bad, and the ugly about the 2026 Chevy Silverado to help you guys at home decide if it might be the right vehicle for you or if you should leave it at the lot and look at the other full-size truck competition. So today you can expect to see a walk around, all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts, and huge thanks to Twin Falls Chevy for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'll link them below if you're interested because they sell below MSRP, they ship all over the country, and with that said, let's dive right into this review. And thank you for watching car videos on YouTube today, but if you get anything out of this video, you enjoy the presentation style, or you just like the Chevy Silverado, please be so kind to consider liking this video. Basically, that lets me know to make more stuff like this. It helps my video get shared, but it'll also help you by having the YouTube choose to show you more stuff similar to this. Thank you so much. But if you're new to Chevy, or the Chevy Silverado, there's a few cool things that you should probably know. Chevy is an all-American automaker. They were founded in 1911 in Detroit, Michigan, and by the year 1918, they were already starting to produce pickup trucks, or at least the ancestor to the modern-day pickup truck. But the Silverado nameplate, it didn't come out until the 1975 model year. Originally, it was just a trim level off of Chevy's full-size pickup truck, but in the year 1999, about 24 years later, it became the name of the model. So this is actually still part of the 4th generation of Silverado, which came out in 2019. So although you might be wondering if it's getting long in the tooth, it is the 8th model year after all. There might be a new generation next year, but Chevy has given these some pretty substantial upgrades over the years, and a lot of people are still liking them. A lot of people are still buying them. This one specifically was assembled in Indiana, and they sell about 500,000 units or more every single year in the United States market. They're also sold in Canada, and the GMC Sierra version of these trucks also sell at least 250,000 every single year. And I'm really not surprised why these sell so well in the United States, because there's a lot of different ways that you can configure them. There are 9 different trim levels. There are 5 different bed to cabin configurations. There's even 2 transmission options and 4 different engines, and that's all in just the half-ton 1500 level pickup truck. That's not even getting into the heavy-duty ones, let alone how many different paint colors and wheel options you have. So this one specifically being a double cab, having over a 6.5 foot bed, having a 33-inch all-terrain Goodyear tire, and the baby-sized Duramax under the hood. Personally, this is a configuration that I really like, maybe one that I would even consider if I was in the market for something like this. So there's a lot of different ways to have your Silverado, but they're not cheap. A base model, 2-wheel drive, 2-door work truck starts at about $37,000. If you want an RST like this, it starts at over $50,000. After destination delivery, all the options and all the packages that this one has, it's closer to $65,000 before the Twin Falls discount of several $1,000s. But for over $60,000, what do you get? Unfortunately, this is not a top safety pick, but it is expected to be a 5-star overall crash test rated vehicle for this new model year. And when you do spend about $60,000, you not only get all the standard safety features, but you also get a lot of optional, a lot of extra upgraded ones. So it does have really bright LED headlights up front, turn signals, side mirrors with blind spot monitoring, you have adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, 360-degree cameras, and a bunch of parking sensors. But beyond all that, you have everything you need. Even though this is the Rally Sport truck, this kind of the street trim level of the Silverado, you also have a lot of truck stuff, so you still have some black painted recovery strap hooks right there. You also have the front fascia aerodynamics right here, which are just really neat. You also have a 33-inch Wrangler Goodyear tire that does have a 20-inch gloss wheel, looks fantastic. It even has the Z71 off-road package. You have Duramax stamped into the hood bulge, which I really like. And then beyond all that on the interior, you have a heated leather-wrapped steering wheel. You have heated leather-wrapped power seats, a Bose sound system, and a lot of other nice features that you're just gonna have to wait to see throughout this video. If you're not used to driving a full-size truck, these things feel massive, even compared to mid-sized trucks. Like I drove a few Colorados in the last couple weeks. This just feels like a much heavier duty truck, even though it is only the half ton. Keep in mind, overall, it is about 19.3 feet long. The wheelbase is roughly 12 feet, so it is a very long truck. The breakover angle is not fantastic, so although this can do a lot of good things off-road, it's not the most off-road capable because of that breakover angle to where it can easily high center. But anyways, it's about 6 3/4 feet wide, about 6 1/4 feet tall. It weighs roughly 5,000 pounds, although there's a lot of variation between all of the engines, the transmissions, the cab configurations, and all of that. This one, though, still has a pretty impressive 1,566 pound payload capacity. They can tow up to 13,300 pounds. It really just depends on the configuration, the final drive ratio. This has the 323 final axle ratio. And then it has a little bit over 8 inches of ground clearance at the very lowest point, a little bit more at the higher points, and it can do a full circle in about 46 feet. The last couple things to mention here is the gas door, or in this case, the diesel door, is located on the driver's side. Unfortunately though, when you lock the vehicle, the diesel door does not lock, so the bumps might attempt to siphon some of your 24 gallons of fuel. Also, you have your diesel exhaust fluid fill right there as well. This vehicle is rated for about 22 city, 26 on the highway. I have heard owners getting even better MPG than that on the forums, which is absolutely absurd for a diesel that makes 500 pound-feet of torque. Is a full-size pickup truck to be averaging 24 MPG is pretty interesting. And then with that gas tank, it is rated for about 624 miles of max road trip and range. And then this is the 33-inch Goodyear Wrangler tire. It is a 275/60/20. It does have a non-matching spare underneath the bed. And then this is your key. You have lock, unlock, remote start, tailgate drop, but not lift. You have to do that yourself. And then panic button. But just leave that in your pocket because you do have proximity key features to lock and unlock the vehicle on the front 2 doors. The driver's side interior is maybe not what you'd expect for $60,000 in any other class of vehicle, but for a truck, it's mostly focused around making durable materials. There are a few nicer accent pieces. You do have the huge Bose sound system right there, but otherwise this door panel doesn't look a whole lot different than the lower, cheaper trim levels. And it's kind of designed like that on purpose. It's to be durable. It's to be easy to clean, likely to last 30 plus years. And I mean, historically, these do age really well. The windows are actually pretty big on this model. And then you will notice that the door opens up fairly large. So for most people, it's gonna be easy to get in here. Other than the height, even though this is the RST, it has the lowest amount of ground clearance. It's still a very big step to get up, probably at least 2 feet that you have to lift your leg. And then at 5'11", pretty sure this seat is higher than my pelvis, or it's gonna be pretty close anyways. But because this is the Z71, you have the all-weather mats, rubberized dead pedals, OBD 2-port hood release, no knee airbag, unfortunately. You have all of your trailer modes, your brake controller, all of that type of stuff on the dashboard. And then you have the lighting stock, you have the wipers, you have the leather-wrapped heated steering wheel that also has paddle shifters for the 10-speed automatic. You have an 8-pillar handle, and then you have what seems to be non-memory seats, but power-adjustable heated seats. And they actually do get fairly warm, but they don't get warm enough to make me burn myself, which is unfortunate because I do like a lot of heat coming through my seats. And then no power moonroof or anything up top, though you can see the cutout where one would be. Because you don't have it on this one, you do have a little bit more headroom if that matters. And then sitting inside the Silverado is a really nice place to be. The belt line of the vehicle is overall fairly low, so although like most trucks you can't see very close to the vehicle, you can't see probably within 15 or 20 feet of the actual hood because it blocks so much visibility, you actually can turn and see pretty close to the sides of the vehicle, and that's not always the case on full-size pickup trucks. But when you fire this up, the huge screens come to life. The diesel roars, the basic heads-up display appears, the blind spot mirror, that little icon, I think I missed it on camera, but it pulled up too. And then this is your place. This is where you're gonna spend your time. So you have the brake controller right there, the paddle shifters, the horn. It's loud.
Connected by OnStar's high-speed 4G connection.
Nice, 4G connection. Cool. Anyways, we have some of our parking sensors and safety features that we can turn on and off. You can turn off auto start stop. You can drop the tailgate from here, traction control, hill descend. You have your climate controls. They are physical. I really like that. But I don't like how small the fan speed buttons are and that they're right in the middle. I wish I just had my own dial for that, like this instead. It does have dual climate controls for the front, but those buttons are easy to miss. You can easily accidentally turn off AC instead of turning up the fan speed, and then you're going to be blowing a lot of hot air and you're not going to be having a good time. Anyways, you have some plugins, you have a lot of storage. The 360-degree camera on this is absolutely absurd. It's awesome. The clarity is actually really good too. Unfortunately though, you don't have trajectory lines, at least not that I've been able to figure out. Maybe you can turn them on. But anyways, this is a pretty cool setup. Park though, if you're not used to these newer shifters, it's kind of strange that that's park. It's not just going up to the top. If you do that, you're gonna start to roll backwards. And then this is the center console. So you can see a lot of room, a lot of things fit in here. You have the lifty tray, you have some plugins, and you have a lot of deep storage in there, which is a pretty nice place to be. Up top, you do have the controls for that. That sliding glass door, it doesn't look very big from the outside of the vehicle, but from the inside, it does take up the whole vertical height. And overall, this is a pretty nice place to be. I love that the full-size trucks have some storage up here. And I'm ready to take this thing on the road, but first we have to hop into the back seats and finish up a few other things. So this is the double cab. This is the small 4-door, what used to be just an extended cab or not even having the extra doors to open, and they used to be open suicide style. So now you have the mini 4-door. This has actually been around since I think about 2014 for the last generation too, but the materials on the front, the nicer ones anyways, follow the back. Of course, the cheaper ones follow back as well. You have a pretty good amount of storage, nice upgraded speaker with kind of the bezeling around it, which looks really cool. And then you still have a little bit of storage under here. You have a B-pillar handle, but that is really tall. I think a lot of people, anyone, you know, elderly, anyone who's a child, they're gonna need a side step, so you can easily add one of those on off of the body or a rock rail off of the frame. You have the handle, you can climb up here, and at 5'11", sitting behind my driver position, which I did have a little bit further back for filming than I normally do, but just to prove a point, it does get pretty tight back here. You don't have a ton of room, but you have vents, you have some cup holders, you have some plugins. You have no fold down armrest. You have pretty good headroom because this doesn't have a panoramic sunroof or any glass above your head back here. You can hang some clothes. You can check out the breeze if that window's open. Otherwise, visibility is actually pretty good. And compared to the old Silverados, the ones where you didn't have the third door or the suicide door and you had to climb back here, this is much nicer. You have a lot more freedom, you have vents. It is a much more upgraded package overall, but it still is tight. The full-size 4-door, you lose basically a foot of bed to gain a foot of knee room on the interior. So decide if that's worth it to you. I personally like this configuration because it's more about the bed, more about the functionality than just around hauling butts. Although this truck really does haul a lot of butt, especially with the diesel engine. So with that said, let's hop out and I'll show you the bed. I think the back of this Silverado actually looks really good, and it's one of my favorite angles of this truck overall. Having the blacked out badges, the blacked out vinyl stickers for the Chevrolet stamped in looks really cool. Even having the little bit of a bulge around Chevrolet sticking out of the tailgate, that looks nice too. The vertical lights, they look very much like the new generation Colorado. Having the USB styled exhaust tips, the tow package, all the hookups, the huge step that could fit a huge boot, having the handle up there. This is just a very nice looking tailgate, and I like it a lot. And when we lower it down, it is slow to lower. It is dampened. It is also easy to lift. You can easily fit your drink and your bowl of chili when you're doing some work on the job site. This one does have the bed liner. It does have a 400 watt outlet. That's not a lot of wattage. That's mostly going to be charging batteries and doing very low intensity draw things. It's not going to be, you know, firing up an electric griddle or kettle or anything like that, or a chainsaw. But it can do a few other things for you that are lower level. You also have the Chevrolet bow tie stamped in back there, and I like that a lot. 500-pound tie downs at all 4 corners. And then overall, this bed is almost 80 inches long. So it's about 6 foot, 7 inches long. It's 50 inches between the wheel wells, 71 between not the wheel wells. It is about 22 inches tall. So overall, you have about 71 and a little bit of change on how many cubic feet you have before you even start piling over it. So 71 cubic feet of room is actually pretty substantial. That's a pretty good sized bed. But with that said, let's raise the tailgate, which is pretty easy to do, and move on to the passenger side. The passenger side of the Silverado is really cool, and as I approach this truck, which is currently running, I love the diesel idle. This 3-liter Baby Max seriously sounds so cool. It's just the neatest thing. But you have basically the same door panel minus some of the switchgear controls. Oh, my bad, guys, you do not have power seats on this front seat. It is manual. And at $65,000 MSRP, I think Chevy can do a little bit better than that. You also have some storage on the side of the transmission tunnel and the hidden storage above the glove box. If I can actually hit the finger, on my finger on the button right there, That's actually pretty cool. That's not the biggest in-class upper storage, but it's really cool, and I like how it's kind of hidden away on the nicer trim levels. And then you have a lock and glove box because there is a key hidden in the remote. The glove box, though, it's not large. It's pretty average for this class of vehicle. But with that said, guys, let's come around to the front, and I am super excited to show you what the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel engine looks like. Under the hood is a 305 horsepower diesel engine. It does peak out at about 3,750 RPM, and then it makes about 495 pound-feet of torque, as low as 2,750 RPM, all thanks to the huge turbo. And then 6 small pistons lined up in a row. This is actually a really cool power plant, and I like driving these trucks a lot. They're nearly as fast as the 6.2-liter V8s, depending on density, altitude, and the day that I've tested them, but they sound so good. In some cases, people report on the forums that they get over 30 miles per gallon. And a truck like this, a 5,000-pound truck that can tow 13,000 pounds, that is absurd how capable modern technology has come. I know not everyone loves all the emissions and all the things related to that, but this diesel engine, the LZO, is no joke. Otherwise, you have the battery, the fuse box, you have all of your reservoirs on the periphery, and a huge turbo right there on the passenger side. Anyways, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this engine. Would you buy one? Have you owned one? Have you owned the old one, the LM2, I think it was? Comment that below. Otherwise, let's drop the hood and take this thing for a drive. Initial driving impressions of the 2026 Silverado RST with the 3-liter diesel. We're in sport mode. Let's get up to speed. The first and second gear, it pulls pretty good. It really slows down after that. But at low speeds, this engine sounds fantastic, especially compared to how kind of muffled the V8s are. I think the diesel is probably the best sounding of the 4 engines currently offered. But just driving it down the road, even though this is just a double cab, it still is over 19 feet long. It still feels like a really big truck, especially if you're not a truck person, someone who doesn't usually drive them, or you're used to the mid-sized trucks, more like what I've owned in the past. So visibility is good. You can see right down the sides of the vehicle, right down the center through the cabin, and you have pretty good visibility up front. It's just that you can't see within maybe 15 feet of the hood because the hood is so high off the ground. And with the bold front fascia of this, it is fairly squared off. It is fairly parallel to the ground. So you really can't see super close to the vehicle. The sides of the vehicle you can see okay, but if you turn around or you use the side mirrors or the back, you can't see anything probably within 30 feet of the rear of the vehicle. When it's time to slow down, there's not too much dive on this RST. I think the suspension is actually really geared towards the street, and it does feel pretty good compared to some of the higher, more raised up Silverados and other comparable trucks. And then just lightly on the gas, it does a pretty good job to get up to speed. It seriously sounds so good, and because this one doesn't have as much ground clearance and the center of gravity is a little bit lower, it does handle a little bit better. Still not nearly as good as a mid-sized truck, but I actually have a lot more confidence driving this than some of the other vehicles. And then the seats, the bolstering on the sides is not great, so you do slide around a little bit, but they're comfortable. The heated feature after 20 minutes, I wouldn't say that I'm hot, but I am getting warm, and the steering wheel seems to be heated all around, all 360 degrees, which is pretty nice. There's a little bit of a bump up here. I'm curious to see how these 20-inch wheels handle it. Yeah, you really couldn't feel it. The speakers sound pretty decent on this vehicle with the upgraded system that it has. And overall, this is actually a pretty fun truck to drive. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I highly recommend you test drive one for yourself. I'm gonna get to the private road and we're gonna do a 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the 2026 RST with the diesel. We are in 4-wheel drive auto, traction is off, I'm in sport mode. I'm gonna do a little bit of a brake rev and see what this thing can do, but keep in mind density altitude's over a mile above sea level, so we are down on power just a little bit. And true 0 to 60 came in at 7.6 seconds. Not bad given today's elements. My final thoughts of the 2026 Chevy Silverado. First and foremost, I was a little bit surprised that Chevy didn't introduce a new generation for this year. I'm sure they're going to do that soon, but this 26 RST with the 3-liter diesel was actually pretty fun to drive for a full-size truck. Whenever I drive these, I always feel like I sit up so high. They feel like they're massive, especially compared to mid-sized trucks, which I've owned before and I'm much more familiar with. But this is a pretty good work truck. Silverados have certainly grown not just in size, but in price over the years. And for being the 4th generation, for being the 8th model year of it, it's as expensive now for a Silverado as it's ever been. $65,000 the way this one's configured. But you do get good miles per gallon. You do have a powerful diesel engine. You do have a lot of capability, a vehicle that's expected to last for many, many, many years, and one that you could probably even pass down through your family if you really wanted to. It has one of the coolest tailgates I've ever seen, and it has a lot of other interesting things that it offers, as well as a lot of safety, a lot of technology, a lot of creature comforts. It is a pretty cool vehicle, and I do like it a lot. I do like my time with it today. I've always been a fan of Glacier Blue and now Riptide Blue. I just think that the metallic blue offered on the Silverado looks really good, and these things really stand out. You really notice them a ways down the road. But ultimately, guys, these are just my thoughts and opinions, and I'm just one random person, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions below. Have you owned a Silverado? Are you considering it? What are you looking at to compete against this? I always recommend you test drive the competition. Don't just take my word for it or anyone else's. You need to spend time in the seat of these vehicles. You need to make sure that it feels right to you, because you can't drive a spec sheet, and you need to make sure that you're driving the vehicle that actually matches your lifestyle and what you need and what you want if you're going to spend this much money. And with that said, if you guys got anything out of this video, please consider liking it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the Twin Falls Chevy, one of the best Chevy dealerships in the nation. They sell below MSRP and they ship all over the country. And with that said, see you guys.